Here's some quick explanations on the problems that people had questions on. So the first one was about an ellipse, which is going to be important. We know an ellipse is the equation that has a plus sign in it. So we have to use the given information to come up with the parts that are missing in the equation. We need to know a squared and we need to know b squared. So we have to use this information here. The major axis has a length of 10. The major axis is moving all the way across the ellipse, so that's 2a to get the major axis. So we're going to do 2a equals 10. Divide by 2, and that tells you a is 5. And then they told you the minor axis is 8, so that's going to be 2b. That's the smaller one. 2b equals 8. Divide by 2, b equals 4. Then we have the next piece of information, which is telling us the center is at -3, 7. So we can plug that in. That's h and k. So it's going to be x plus 3 squared over blank plus y minus 7 squared over blank equals 1. We just have to decide which number is going to go where. To decide that, you need to look at the keyword here that this is a horizontal ellipse. If it's a horizontal, that means x is in control. And if x is in control, it should get the bigger number out of the two that we found for a and b. So a is always the bigger number here. That's going to be 25, goes under the x because x is in control. And then I'm going to take the 4 and square it, and that's going to become 16. And that goes under the y since it's smaller and y is not in control. So hopefully that helps with number 4. That's your answer right there, this whole thing. Number 5, we have to convert it. So this is where we need to make sure we're setting this up correctly. I'm going to first reorder everything. It's going to be 4x squared minus 24x plus 25 y squared plus 100 y, and then kick that 36 over the other side, so -36. Then we group and we take out the greatest common factor. We can take out 4 out of this, just the number, not the variable. Turns into x squared minus 6x plus blank plus 25 is going to come out of this group. That's going to be y squared plus 4y plus blank equal to -36 plus blank plus blank. Then we have to find the number that completes the square. Remember, the formula for that is b divided by 2 squared. So I'm going to do -6 divided by 2 is -3. -3 squared is 9. And so on the other side, to keep it balanced, remember you have to take that 9 and you have to multiply it by the 4, and that's what's going to end up getting added on the other side. So that's going to be a 36. And then we have, for the other set, for the y's, b is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. But again, when we go to add that to the other side, we have to multiply it by the 25 that was pulled outside. So that's going to be 100. So we get 4 times, take the square root to break these down, 4 times x minus 3 squared plus 25 times y plus 2 squared is equal to 100. And your last step to getting this into standard form is divide everything by 100 so that it equals 1. So we get x minus 3 squared over 25 plus y plus 2 squared over 4 equals 1. That's the standard form. Then we have a few other questions to answer here. Is where is the center? Well, the center is h comma k. It's the x number comma the y number, but we have to think opposite. So it'd be 3 comma -2. I'm just pulling that from these numbers right here. And then we have to use that answer for the center, and we have to find the value for the foci and find where the foci are going to be. Since this has a plus in it, the foci formula has a minus in it. So it's going to be 25 minus 4 that c squared equals 21, so we have the square root of 21 as c. And then we have to look at the problem and decide what's in control. With an ellipse, again, you know what's in control by whatever has the bigger number. So since this has the bigger number, x is in control. So that means for the foci, I have to add the radical 21 onto the x part, onto the 3. So it's going to be 3 plus radical 21 and 3 minus radical 21. And the negative 2 just stays. Somebody had a question on 6. So for 6, this is now a hyperbola. So the rules here are a little different. When we do the hyperbola, this is where you have to remember you're going to be drawing a box. You're going to draw in the diagonals of the box so that you can draw in a hyperbola is really two curves facing away from each other. But to get the first couple pieces of information, it's the same kind of setup. The center here is 0, 0. Then we look at the first fraction. And it tells me that I'm going to go left and right 5. Since x is on the top, that's what tells me the direction. And since the square root of 25 is 5, that's where I got 5 from. And so we move out 5, and that's where our dot goes. The second fraction tells me that I am moving up and down 7. So I'm going to do that, but this is going to be a dash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we can draw the box around. And there's our box. And then we need to draw a dotted line through the corners of the box and through the center. When you're doing this on the quiz, I would suggest that you use a straight edge so that it comes out a little bit nicer. The two curves then go through the vertex and they stay inside of the dotted line. That's what your hyperbola is going to look like. And then we have to find the focus points. To find the focus points, we use the formula. Since the original equation has minus, the focus points, it's, c squared equals a squared minus b squared. And that's going to be, a squared plus b squared, because it has a minus. It turns into plus. 25 plus 49, c squared is equal to 74. Take the square root of that. I do not believe you can simplify that, so we're just going to leave it 74. And then we have to think about what's in control. For a hyperbola, it's whatever was first that's in control. So x is in control here, because it's what the first fraction is. What the positive fraction is in control. So that's the part that's going to change for the foci. It's going to be radical 74, comma 0, and negative radical 74, comma 0. And then if we go to graph those, the square root of 74 is like 8.4-ish. So it's going to be over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a little bit. And then over to the right, that same amount. And those are going to be where our focus points are. Alright, number 7 is another hyperbola. We know that also because of the minus sign. So the first thing we have to do here is find the center. This one actually has a center. And you have to be careful because the y and the x are switched order. When you do the center, you want the x number first, the y number second. So it should be 1, comma 3. So that's over 1 up 3. And then we look at the fractions to tell us where to move next. Be careful, that one's y. So this is going to be up and down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're moving from the center. That's going to be a dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to be a dot. Then the second fraction tells me we're going to go left and right 3. That's going to be a dash. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then our box can go through these points. This is telling you where to place the sides of the box. And then we can draw our diagonals, our asymptotes, through the corners of the box, through the center. And our two curves are going to go through where we put the dots, but stay inside of the dotted lines. So there's my hyperbola. Notice it's facing up and down because when I look here, y is first, so y is in control, which is why it should face up and down. It should go in the y direction. For the foci, we're going to do c squared equals, again, change the sign of what the original one said. So it's going to be a squared plus b squared, which is 16 plus 9. You get 25. You take the square root. C ends up being a whole number 5. So this, when we find the foci, we're going to actually want to add this on. So we're going to take our center, 1, 3, and we're going to look at what's in control. It's that first fraction, or that tells you what's in control. So that tells you y is in control. So that means I'm going to change the 3 here. That's what I'm going to add and subtract 5 onto. So it's going to be 1, 3 plus 5 and 1, 3 minus 5. So we get 1, 8 and we get 1, negative 2. So over 1, up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's just inside the vertex, and then over 1, down 2, again, just inside the vertex, 1 away. So that tells you, since it's the same distance, that we got the right coordinates there. Last one somebody had questions on was number 9. So the first thing, this is similar to when I went over, I think number 5 was the other one like this. First thing is get everything in order. It's going to be 9x squared plus 18x minus 4y squared plus 24y equal to 63 on the other side. And then we can group. The first group, I'm taking the 9. That whole number is going to come out. So we get times x squared plus 2x plus blank minus 4 times y squared. This is where you got to be careful here. This is negative 4 that I'm taking out. So when I take out negative 4, I also have to divide this by negative 4, which means this changes to minus 6y plus blank equal to 63 plus blank plus blank. First blank is going to be 2 divided by 2 is 1, 1 squared is 1, and then 9 goes here because again we got to multiply these two numbers as we're doing that. And then in the second blank, it's going to be a 9, but again, you're going to multiply these two numbers, so that's going to turn into negative 63, or negative 36, the number I wrote, not the number I said. Alright, then we break down on the left side, we factor these out. That's x plus 1 squared if we take the square root, and then minus 4 times y minus 3 squared equal to, if you do the math there, that turns into 36. And we need it to equal 1, so I divide by 36. And our standard form answer is x plus 1 squared over 4 minus y minus 3 squared over 9 equals 1. And then you just had to answer the other questions over here. We get that the center is negative 1, 3. And for the focus points, we have to find the value for c first. So it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That's going to be 4 squared plus 9. Oh wait, those are already squared. It's going to be 4 plus 9. So c squared equals 13. And take the square root. C equals the square root of 13. And when we look at it, I know that the first one tells me what's in control. So that tells me x is in control. So that 13 is going to add on to the negative 1, and the 3 is going to stay. Nothing happens to the y because it's not in control. And that's negative 1 minus radical 13, 3.